Welcome to the Dog Expert Podcast, the podcast dogs would want you to listen to. Powered by canineprinciples.com, helping passionate dog people go from feeling unsure and overwhelmed to confident, compassionate and science savvy through a rich library of online courses and formal qualifications. Each week on the podcast, we dive deep into the real, raw and rewarding world of dogs. This isn't about obedience. This is about understanding. Because dogs aren't problems to solve. They're free-thinking, sentient beings to connect with.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to the Dog Expert Podcast. We are on season 4, episode 5, and I am joined by the wonderful Penny, who is co-hosting with me today. Hey, Penny.
Hey, Joe. It's so exciting for today.
I know. Me too, and next week too. So excited. We have got the most amazing guests lined up for you this evening and next week as well. Thanks to you, Penny, because you've made the introductions for this week and next week's guests. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about this week's guests?
Well, actually, I was blown away when I first because one of our guests reached out to me for a connection and a conversation, and that sometimes happens in our world because we like to be collaborative and keep learning from each other. But I really didn't know a great deal, and we had the most phenomenal conversation. And knowing what I know about cell biology, knowing what I know about animal longevity and animal health, I couldn't believe that this hadn't crossed my path somewhere sooner. And the effects of what we're going to talk about today are so broad-reaching, so phenomenal, so applicable to every single animal, because there isn't a species barrier here. There isn't it might work for you. You might have an allergy to it. It might, it's just fundamental bottom science here. So I'm very excited to be spreading the word about what these guys are doing and about what the product that they're talking about, what the science can do, because I know the impact is going to be massive. So I'm trying to be very, very secretive here and not give anything away.
I've already tagged on socials and I've already been like,
so everybody knows. Okay, fine. So when you think about it, right, what is the number one need of an animal's body, right? The number one is oxygen. You can go 3 minutes without oxygen, approximately, like that's a human stat, and you can go about 3 days without water. That's need number 2. Like these are the most significant things that the body requires enormous amounts of it. As soon as it's shut down, life shuts down. So what happens when we actually increase those in the body, increase those levels? Can we do the reverse? Can we expand life? Can we get more out of it? And the answer is yes, you can. Right? The mitochondria inside the cells that are going to be powering the body's energy are going to feed from that. The ability for the body to detox and to flow and to do its nutrients and do respiration, everything is going to require that water. So when you're elevating both water as a nutrient and oxygen as a nutrient, you are elevating life in that animal. And then when you do that, you obviously are mitigating against various forms of suffering and disease. And it's so obvious. Why didn't we think about it before?
It's just an absolute no-brainer. So our guests today are the fabulous Lindsey Taylor and Karla Pearson from OxyPet. I'm going to bring them on now because I read, I think it's 700% more oxygen in the water that they've produced. It is just incredible. So I might be wrong on that. You might correct me, but off memory, I think that's what I read. So welcome, Lindsey and Karla, to the Dog Expert Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. We're super excited to hear more about you guys, how you got into what you're doing today, and obviously OxyPet and why the oxygen is so important. But I know Lindsey and I were speaking last week about brachycephalic breeds, particularly with the shorter airways and their increased need for oxygen because they're not able to breathe normally, if you like. But anyway, Penny and I could waffle all day about this. So we'll hand over to you guys to introduce yourselves and tell us more.
Thank you, guys. I was loving the introduction. I think you guys should just do the podcast.
We do the marketing for OxyPet for you.
So no, my name's Lindsey Johnson. I'm a co-founder of OxyPet, and I first got involved with, I suppose people would call it oxygenated water, but a bit more specifically, nano bubble oxygen water in 2019. So I was working actually in food and beverage at the time. So I was looking quite interestingly at the market and really just what was going in food and what was going in water and all that. So this became something that just came to us. It was my friends had created the technology, and they're like, right, we're going to do this. And at first, very skeptical. I mean, my point on water was I drank bottled spring water at the time, so I was aware of forever chemicals in water, and just really looked after my health. I was into biohacking. I was breathwork trained as an instructor, so I knew the impacts of just oxygen anyway. But that's basically how I got involved. And at first, there was no science. We didn't have any science. We just was drinking it, and people were consuming it on the human side, and we was exporting it around the world. And then one boy had eczema, and he drank this water for 12 weeks, and his skin just went back to normal. And we was just like, okay. That's when the curiosity started going, well, what else can this do? And tried it with 10 kids. Their skin was always, improving. And that's really how I started, from the human side. And yeah, I mean, I could carry on. So do I carry on, or I pass over to Karla at the moment?
It's about broccoli.
But that's really what got me interested. That's why I stuck with it, because I was like, I can't walk away from this. And then we looked at the effects on the blood, because observation is fine. And we got into live blood analysis with a specialist, Caroline Mansfield. Caroline's a specialist for 23 years studying blood in various different examples. And she was shocked to see the positive impact on what this was doing to the blood. She'd never seen an impact like it. I mean, if you look at blood, and when you just drink normal water, even spring water, it has a effect, but this was dramatically changing the red blood cells from even a hypoxic state where they're clumped together, rouleau, to being completely separated, free flowing, which then allows the body to work so much more efficiently, delivers nutrients better. You feel easier, life becomes easier. So that was how we started. And then I had a boxer dog called Mowgli, and at the age of 11, he really was deteriorating. We went to the vets, etc., and in the end, they said, "Look, there's nothing we can do. He's got cancer. He's too weak. We can't do chemo. We can't do any of that stuff." So they gave us 4 weeks. So I took him off medication. And as a last resort, I said to the family, why don't we just try him on it to see if we can get some more time? He didn't have some miracle overnight. It wasn't like that. He was very weak, but he was consuming around nearly 3 liters a day. So he was a boxer dog. So he was under 30 kilos at the time. So he was a low weight, and he just kept on going. I just wanted more than 4 weeks. And he kept on going. He surpassed my expectations, didn't change anything in his diet. He was kibble fed, dry food fed. And it was about 3 months in. We were past like 90 days, 3 months in. You could see he had a little bit more energy in him. And I said to my wife, look, if he gets to 8 months, that's the age of 12, then I'm going to share it on social media, because I'd already shared that we only had 4 weeks to live. I wanted the support, from friends. And that's it. I shared it on social media. It picked up the interest of John and Suzanne Scott Maxwell, who I met. They had their own animal charity. Suzanne really resonated with Mowgli's story because she had a boxer dog, and they both understood the importance of real hydration, and they knew the benefits of oxygen. And that was when we came together. And I went back to my friends and said, look, I want to do this for animals. And that's it. We created OxyPet. And our single mission is to, help animals live easier with more oxygen and superior hydration. So that was the start.
Fantastic. That was the start. And then Karla, where did you come from?
So, well, firstly, if anybody can hear any heavy breathing and snoring in the background, that is just my French bulldog called Betty, which is the reason that I'm sat here talking to you guys. She will be 14 in September. And when I got Betty, oh my God, I just fell in love with this tiny little puppy, and my whole universe just shifted. And I just wanted to be the best pet parent that I possibly could. So, like most people, you go off and you follow everything that the vets tell you to do. So she had all her vaccines, she had all her chemical flea and worm treatment, she was fed a, very well-known breed-specific kibble. And really, I always say from a year and a half old, she was really sick. But when I look at the photos, she was showing the signs of not being great from being quite a young age. But by the time she was a year and a half, she really wasn't good. And I happened to go on a raw feeding seminar in my area. And it was just like this light bulb moment, and I was like, oh my God, this just makes perfect sense. It wasn't even like I was thinking, not sure about that. It was just common sense, really. So that led me on to then going to every conference, reading every book, and just changing everything in Betty's life. And then me being me, I was like a dog with a bone, pardon the pun. And I kind of thought, well, if I don't know any of this stuff, well, that means 95% of the population also don't know this stuff. So what can I do? And I did a few little nutrition talks around my local area, and I had like a good table and a bad table and talked about all that stuff. And I loved it. I loved talking to people. And I was in a lot of different Facebook groups. But I found them really argumentative, quite nasty. If you mentioned anything natural, you were practically the devil reincarnated. You know what I mean? If you say you're not going to be given boosters, and I jokingly said on my Facebook, I think I'll start my own group, messing around. And everyone was like, no, you really should. And I was like, no. And they were like, no, you really should. So very long story short, that's how No Bull, Just Natural Health for Dogs was born. That's been going about 6 years now, and we are at almost 113,000 members. So that is a labour of love. It's a full-time job in itself. And then out of the blue, I lose track of time now, but it's about 2.5 years ago, I got a message from some Lindsey Taylor. Telling me about OxyPet, but as you can imagine, I get a lot of companies reaching out, and I just kind of looked and went, I don't know what that is. And but thankfully he was very persistent and kept getting in touch and saying, we're going to have this chat. And eventually I was like, had a little look, and I was like, oh yeah, maybe this is quite interesting. Let's have the chat. Anyway, a little bit like Penny, we had the chat, and we were on the phone for, this half an hour chat turned into 2 hours. And I was just really blown away by the product, and I'm quite straight talking. So I was like, well, what do you want?
So, what do you want from me?
Yeah, what do you want? So Lindsey said, well, I don't actually want anything, but what I'd love to do would be to facilitate some kind of like home trial, home study with some flat-faced dogs. So I said, well, having a Frenchie, we have loads of flat-faced dogs in the group, and I would love to help facilitate that, which we did. It was supposed to be 5 dogs, but obviously I wanted Betty and a couple of the team's dogs to be part of it. But I put a post up, and it was just, the post was only up about 20 minutes, half an hour, and it was heartbreaking. There was just so many dogs. My dog can't breathe, my dog collapses, my dog foams at the mouth, my dog can only walk 5 minutes. And me having a flat-faced dog, I know the suffering firsthand because Betty had to have both surgery. So it really kind of like pulled at my heartstrings. And I said to Lindsey, I can't choose one. We had 1 spot left. You guys are going to have to do that. So we picked the 6th worst, and Lindsey said, right, let's do 10. So that was when the OxyPet 10 was born. And the things that we've seen were just absolutely phenomenal. And the more I learned about OxyPet, and the more that the that I seen was happening with these dogs, like life-changing things for these flat-faced dogs, I decided actually, if I'm going to be in this, let's just be in it properly. And then I became one of the directors of OxyPet. So that's kind of how me and Lindsey met, John and Suzanne, then got introduced to the lovely Penny. So that's kind of where my journey began, with Betty, and then Snowball, and then OxyPet.
Amazing. So I've heard you say, right, that first of all, there's lots of different questions that are coming to my head. I need to put them in some sort of order. I've heard you both say something around the 3-month, 12-week mark. Is that a kind of how long? It's not a quick fix. It's not a magic wand, but you are definitely going to, or you individual to the individual person, I guess, or dog, but you're going to see some changes around the 12-week mark.
I think with each dog, and you might say this as well, Lindsey, with each dog it is so different. So if you've got a dog that is like has real breathing problems, you can often see things pretty quickly. But with other dogs, you know, it can take longer. It depends what's going on. Like if it's the skin, it takes much longer, you know. And with Betty, she's had bore surgery, so she doesn't have like massively outward illnesses. So with her, it was more of a gradual thing. I noticed her behaviour getting much better, her skin becoming much more subtle. Now, a lot of owners that maybe aren't quite as connected or as observant might miss those subtle signs. But Betty has a chiropractor, and even she was like, she said, I'm going to start calling her Benjamin Button every time she comes. She's getting younger. And she was like, look at her skin. And I was like, I know. But that's why we always say give it at least 90 days, you know, because, you know, we humans, we all want that quick fix, don't we? We want to give the water, give the pill, give the homeopathic remedy, and it work overnight. But you do have to be patient. My friend's dog, who is 18 now, she has a heart condition, and OxyPet made a massive difference to her dog within 3 days. She knew. And when she ran out of water, because when we moved websites and new bottles, she had to resubscribe. She forgot. And I got, you know, a message going, oh my God, do you have any OxyPet that you can spare? Because Pepsi is really bad again. She's coughing so much, she's making herself vomit. Took the water. Within 3 days of her being back on the water, she'd improved again. So it really is individual dog.
Yeah. So if someone's listening, sorry, Lindsey.
It's just so the change actually on the blood happens within 20 minutes. So it's very because you just as soon as you're drinking it, as soon as it's getting absorbed, you know, we affect the dissolved oxygen part, not the oxygen that's attached to the hemoglobin. So it happens very, very quickly. I mean, oxygen's absorbed, you know, goes under the tongue anyway. So as soon as you drink it, but Karla's right. There is what it is. You don't want to over promise something, and it's a bit like when you go to the gym or whenever you make a change in your own personal life. You know, it does take time, and you know, that's the one thing that we always say. Just give it time. I would say that some of the best transformations we've seen, some have been really fast. Like Karla said, 3 days. We've had 24 hours. We've had 6 days. We've seen breathing and before and after videos. They're on YouTube. But the best, the ones that have really sort of tickled the heart are the ones, you know, like 8 months and plus. You know, because all of a sudden they're seeing their dogs in various environments. So it could be like in the winter they see it, and then obviously in the summer, the spring, like they come in. And you know, even my own new adopted dogs, you know, just by changing their diet, you can see that it's the delivery vehicle. You know, it will improve digestion a lot easier. You know, so you do see various changes because it, like Penny was saying at the start, it is the foundation. You know, and you know, we've never had an opportunity, you know, in our lifetime that we can actually make a change on this foundation level, and then everything else that you stack on top of that, because it's the hierarchy of health, just becomes so much better.
I think sorry, Jo.
I just wanted to ask, what if someone watching has never heard of oxygenated water before, in complete layman's term, without any scientific words, jargon, what would you call, how would you describe oxygenated water to someone listening?
You want to go, Lindsay?
I would call it the foundation of health. I'd literally call it the foundation. Yeah. You're putting the most two important nutrients in your body: oxygen, which until I was introduced to even breath work or understanding the benefits, which I wouldn't have understood. And then you've got water, which is so underestimated, the power of water, and what is in the water itself. So that's what I'd call it. I'd call it the foundation of health.
Love that.
I was going to say, think of the body as a high performance vehicle, right? Because when you look at biology, it's extremely finely tuned to elicit life to exist in the first place. Like, we can't make other things just come to life. Life is this really special thing. So any biology, any living body is a biological machine, a high performance biological machine. And if you've got a high performance sports car, you don't go to the petrol station and fill up with like low quality trash petrol. Right? The car will probably run for a while, but you're going to have some other things go. But if you put the high quality stuff, the high octane, the high performance fuel into that body, the car that can work with that, performance is going to go up across the board. So you're going to have less wear and tear, less damage of the thing, less low performance in all aspects of how a body is running. So with as far as I understand, and guys correct me if I'm wrong here, but as far as I understand, we're taking spring water straight out of the ground. Like, it hasn't been doctored, it hasn't been manipulated in any way. It's structured through from the rocks. It's got the minerals that it has been pulling from the ground for all of those health benefits, and at source is then captured, but then the oxygen itself, the oxygen gas, is put into the water as a supplementation to the oxygen that's already on the H2O molecule that is the water molecule, right? But it's at such tiny, tiny bubbles that they don't escape out of the water. So it's not effervescent water. It's still water, like you're drinking it from the spring, but it's got 700 times more nano oxygen in there, which is so tiny that it can permeate into not just the bloodstream, but into the cells where it needs to be delivered in order to do that high performance.
Does it still taste like water to us or to the dog? Does it still taste like water?
Penny's right. We increase the dissolved oxygen content. All water has dissolved oxygen, so we increase that. So we basically take Mother Nature and we make it better. And that's what we do. We just enhance Mother Nature. So yeah, we're over 10. We actually need to change the website, so we're over 10 times now, and it tastes very smooth. So what you've got is because it's nanobubble oxygen, so it doesn't escape. It's very different against other gases. So when you put other gases in, you've got Henry's law. It escapes. So other oxygen waters out there that you have to drink them in 20 minutes or they'd evaporate or escape. We basically, in terms of Henry's law, we actually slow it down significantly, which is, it doesn't escape. We have a best before date on our bottles of like 2 years. We wouldn't be able to do that, with the Advertising Standards Agency. If you go and look at like carbonated water or Pepsi, Cola, or all those things that obviously put a gas in, you'll see that the shelf date's like 6 months or something. It doesn't last long. So yeah, very, very smooth to drink. It's very, very light as well. So one of the case studies that are on the website, it showed a 52% speed of absorption. So we was normal water, when we all drink it, it's an absorption rate of about 7.5 minutes. And we this nanobubble water was 3.5 minutes. So if you're able to hydrate, really twice as fast,
I think that's why when we see, especially when it's the summer, what you really notice is, especially with Betty, you know, she likes to sunbathe, so she'll sit there in the sun and then she'll be like, you know, panting, and I'll be like, come on, get out of the sun. And she'll have a drink of that, and literally within minutes, she's just sat there, totally calm again, and gets really hot, and then has some more OxyPet, and then just calms right down. And it's really, really quickly. Like when they've been for a walk, and you know, they come in, have a big drink, and then they calm really, really quickly.
And the knock-on effect straight onto behaviour when you've got a dog that is deficient in oxygen, it's going to have a knock-on behaviour effect. So by supporting them, by making sure they've got what they should naturally be entitled to have in oxygen, it's just a no-brainer. And when I first spoke to Lindsey, I had light bulb moments going off all over the place. It was just like, oh yeah, of course. Absolutely, they need more oxygen.
Behaviour is quite interesting one, Jo, that you just mentioned. Behaviour. We just had a testimonial, a video testimonial actually, and I mean, we get some fantastic ones come in, but this one actually, I thought I was gonna well up. So we've got obviously the various professional supporters, and Nikki Palke, who's an award-winning dog groomer, but she's a dog groomer that works with behaviour dogs. So, and she had this one dog, and it was a lockdown dog. And I don't know if any of you have ever sort of spoke to people who've got lockdown dogs, but I didn't really think about this. And because when it was a puppy, it had a completely experience to what a normal dog would have. It wasn't able to socialize. When they were wearing masks. You couldn't stroke the dog. If you went to the vets, you know, the vet was wearing a mask, you know, and you couldn't handle them and all this kind of stuff. And she was saying that the knock-on effect of behavior has been quite severe, that even the dog was growling and, you know, wouldn't stay with the mum, couldn't go to the groomers, was biting, and to the point that she was going to sort of like, I don't know what to do with my best friend, you know. But someone mentioned her to Nikki Palke, and Nikki had seen behaviour changes through some of her clients, the dogs that are coming in that are on OxyPet, and they were easier to groom, they were less stressed, and just, you know, just more happy to be there. So she did say to her, why don't you try it? Anyway, she was like, no, I'm not doing it. And she said, look, why don't you try it? And I think in the end, it was like, okay, I'll give it a go. And she wasn't expecting anything. And her mum even went, why are you buying that for? You know, what a waste. But she saw a difference in 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, that dog must have been so stressed, must have been, you know, hydrated. You're always, you know, you're in fight and flight state all the time, that you're constantly putting pressure and stress. And that dog's trying to talk and trying to share its problem. And yeah, when she shared it with us, and she's been able to go back and have grooming. Yes, he's still a tricky dog, right? But the difference that it's made to that dog, I mean, she nearly got me, right? She's like tears. That's an amazing thing that I never saw from when I started this, you know, what change that could make to, you know, on the behavior side as well. So
we noticed it with the OxyPet 10, didn't we? And it was something, I'll be honest, really didn't expect at all for it to have an effect on behavior. But Betty is quite a reactive dog, and she just seemed much calmer. But I was thinking, no, maybe it's just she's getting older. But it was a marked thing that happened when she started on the OxyPet. And then little Edna, she was another one of the OxyPet 10. She was a rescue dog. And she was told, you know, she's just going to be a sofa dog. She can't really go on big walks. She's really reactive. And within weeks of Edna being on OxyPet, we were getting these videos of her in an enclosed field, like bombing around this field with other dogs. And we were like, has she got friends? And she was like, I can't believe it. She's actually made friends. And I was like, oh my God, it was just so lovely. Just running with all these other dogs. And I was like, oh God, it's just gorgeous.
Oh, that's amazing. And it kind of, like I was saying, it just seems so obvious, but something that completely, for one, I don't know if anyone listening can relate. I go back to nutrition, sleep and pain as my foundation cornerstones of silent behavioral challenge triggers that maybe might be overlooked. Never occurred to me that oxygen, it might be one of them, but it's so obvious now that actually, we always have water out. Water's never restricted, but oxygen, I just took for granted that all dogs and humans would be getting enough oxygen. But actually, not just the brachycephalic breeds, but like you say, when they're in fight or flight, for example, and they've got that stress response, it's just absolutely incredible. And the work that you're doing is phenomenal. I want to listen to more case studies. I want to hear them all. Where can we watch and see more videos and case studies?
Well, the Trustpilot reviews, you can go onto Trustpilot and OxyPet and just read some of the stories. There's some really cool ones because some of them, there's one on there and she left a review after 30 days. And so I'm not really seen much, but the service has been good. It's like, okay. So, but I went, stick with it. She goes, I'm going to stick with it for 90 days. And she wrote a review after 60 days. And it was like a little bit better. And then the 90-day one completely changed. So, and we have people who have left a review after a year, longer period of time. So they're the real life reviews. There's videos as well on YouTube. So you can go and look at that. We used to do a lot of Zoom calls. And we haven't had time to put them all up, but they are starting to go up where people used to come on. We had the OxyPet 100, so that was 100 flat-faced breed dogs. It was French bulldogs, English bulldogs, pugs. I think they were at like, there's like 80-something% that have stayed with it. They just seen that this is so easy for them. It makes their life so much easier. So yeah, we've got a really cool growing community. We're sold out at the moment, so we're not taking on any new customers at the moment, no new subscribers. And then what we do is we make sure that we always look after our existing subscribers. So we're very much community led. We like the dogs to do the talking, and because obviously there's no placebo with dogs, right? So it either works or it doesn't.
Absolutely. So would you say that OxyPet, this is just the beginning for you guys, the beginning of the journey?
Yeah, we set out, when I first met John and Suzanne, there was only a certain capacity. So there's nothing to get the water. It's a Cornish spring water. So the water's always there, right? We've got plenty. It goes through a patented process. So it's a patented nano bubble oxygen machine, which is patented for many, many years. So it goes through that. And then it's the machinery side, the production side. So my initial agreement with Mowgli, who after 8 months I extended his life by 2.5 years. I nursed him with cancer.
Wow. After he got a 4-week prognosis.
Yeah, so 2.5 years. That boy is everything to me. He taught me so much. I mean, definitely my greatest teacher that I've had in my life, and opened my eyes to so much. I can't swear on him, but I was I slept on the sofa for 3 months. I see him transform and be able to come up the stairs and jump on the bed at 13, and I did diet, I did cleanse and detox, I meditated with him, I did bioresonance therapy, I did, you name it, anything. My last penny I put into him, and 2.5 years, and he was the foundation. And I said, when he goes, I was wondering what dog would come and take the reins, because I did not know how I was going to feel, and that was Betty. So that was Karla's Betty, who's now taken the reins.
She gets me into some scrapes, this dog, honestly.
So the initial was 10,000 dogs. is what we would like to reach. That is our
Love that.
10,000. I mean, there's 20 million dogs in the UK, and 2 million are registered as flat-faced breeds. So, there's 2 million out. There's 10,000 out there that could really benefit with OxyPet.
Yeah, the flat-faced dogs are they just have so many issues. I think when me and Penny did a live, I said, that how I had researched the breed, or I thought I had. I'd bought these 2 books, read them. I mean, it was, before I was really much on the internet and social media. Read them from cover to cover, and they say, oh, this snore and this snuffle, as long as you don't mind that, 'cause it's really cute. Nowhere did it say they can't breathe and they suffer horrendously. Nobody's honest about that kind of stuff. So for me, I was already in the group talking about these things. So when OxyPet kind of came along, I was like, oh my God, this makes perfect sense for me to be involved, because I'm out there shouting and screaming about the suffering of these dogs. And I was guilty of it, and we've got some videos of Betty and me recording it, going, oh my God, listen to her snoring, she sounds like an old man, ha ha. And now I watch those videos and actually cry, because I'm like, my God, my dog can't breathe. So for me, it's also about bringing awareness to the suffering of these dogs, because people go, I say, does your dog have breathing problems? No, so it's okay for a Frenchie, or it's okay for a pug, and I'm like, no, is its breathing okay? Not okay for a Frenchie, is its breathing okay? Because that's 2 separate things. We want to know, is it okay for a dog? And there's very few that don't have some level of breathing problems. So across the board, in my opinion, every flat-faced dog needs to be on this stuff.
It's interesting to note as well that it's not, and not belittling it anyway, because I'm a welfare scientist, so I'm 100% behind improving animal welfare. But it's not just on the physical side where every breath is a challenge, where life is so restricted because you can't run around with your friends, because you can't eat properly because your mouth is all crap, whatever it happens to be. There are behavioral side effects to having this condition. So dogs greet each other with smell, right? And so when you have a snout, and when you're able to approach a dog with greater distance between you, because you can breathe and smell better, then you can have a polite distance to have a meet and greet, rather than a get up in your face for a meet and greet, which can then cause a reactive experience. Right. And also, we've got to remember that dogs communicate a lot through their vocalizations, and a vocalization of snuffling and, not being able to breathe correctly can sound to a naive dog. And remember how many naive dogs there are because of COVID, because lockdown pets didn't get properly socialized. Right. So now you've got a situation where a naive dog is being approached by a snuffly dog who sounds like they're growling at them. Yeah. They're not growling, they're just trying to breathe. Yeah. This dog's now going, oh my gosh, I'm getting growled at. I don't understand. I'm getting mixed messages here, because the behavior, the posture looks inviting, but the sound effects don't. I don't know what to do. And confusion breeds then reactive behavior, either run or stand on your toes and get snappy, right? So there's a whole host of behavioral and social interplay that happens as a result of when other dogs can't breathe correctly. It's not just every breath that they, their physiology, and there's this other effect too. So they're denied often a lot of social interplay, and this can also be massively transformed by elevating that ability to breathe properly, calm the nervous system, set off good hormones and pheromones to the other dogs rather than the stressy ones. And now you have a much more conducive environment for quality socializing dog to dog.
I think as well, people think, get a Frenchie and, the lazy dogs. Well, they're not actually lazy dogs. They're sleep deprived and they're depressed. That's what they are. I mean, Betty, before our surgery, she used to sleep with a toy in her mouth, and she used to have sleep apnea. And that used to freak me out. She would be trying to breathe, but nothing would be going in. Then she'd like wake herself up, like, I mean, that was just horrific. And sometimes, I don't know whether anybody's done it, you're dozing off and then you wake up with a start. I mean, how horrendous is that? So these dogs are permanently exhausted. And, we see a lot of French bulldogs now with a lot of aggression. And I'm like, well, if you couldn't breathe, you were sleep deprived, you're probably in pain.
Yes.
I think you'd be pretty aggressive as well.
Yeah.
And sorry, Lindsay, you go.
Did anyone see? I mean, I brought it to Karla's attention. It's actually we give a free guide away. The Flat Face Breed Wellness Guide, and in that guide, it's very in depth. We went through a lot of science. Also, we give free tips in that guide. These are tips that Karla shares frequently in her No Ball group. Just different things that you can provide for them naturally to support their overall well-being. Now, in 2023, there was a veterinary study. It was out of Zurich. It's actually in the guide, and they did a study on normal dogs and brachycephalic dogs. And what they found in brachycephalic dogs is they had compromised red blood cells. So these red blood cells, even they agree, compromised red blood cells. So if you've got compromised red blood cells, that's what carries the oxygen, that's what carries the nutrients. And so they've shown that they are, compromised on a cellular level. So one of the things, obviously, with having oxygen-enriched spring water is it supports the flow of the red blood cells. So it's the one thing. They can do all the other things, and you can change food, and you can change that. But if you can increase and support that superior hydration, then it's going to make their life much easier. So it's on PubMed 2023. It was difference in flat-faced breed blood, but it's in the guide that we give away, Joe. So we could actually, if you wanted to, give the guide away for free. People could go on the website, do something like that.
Absolutely. Where can people find that guide? What's their website URL?
So the guide is on OxyPet. So you go on to
.com.co.uk.
Sorry, .co.uk. But I could give you a code, so then they can just download it for free.
Oh, that would be awesome. Yeah, and then we'll get that round in our newsletter on Friday. We do a Pause and Learn newsletter every Friday that goes out to our mailing list, so we can send that out with the link to the podcast. That would be fantastic. And if people want to get in touch with you guys, because I would love to talk to you all night, and I know that lots of our listeners will want to as well, and I expect go on the waiting list. I know I certainly want to go on the waiting list for when you've got more stock into open subscriptions again. I love that you look after the people, look after your community before you open the doors again. That's so cool. How can people join the waiting list for when you've got open doors again?
OxyPet.co.uk. They can go to, we offer single case purchase, which is 9 litres, so it's 12 bottles of 750 ml. And there's subscription. Subscription is where you get your more bang for your buck. I think it's we give like a 27% discount plus free delivery. It's usually within 24 hours, so it's pretty quick. But as soon as you order, there's no we don't tie anyone into contracts and stuff. Like if you want to cancel. Obviously, the longer you stay with it, the longer you give your dog a chance to show you. And you can request back in stock. We've got a Facebook group. So go on to OxyPet. It's a private Facebook group. You can also sign up to email, and we send out lots of education. We're big on education, so we talk about forever chemicals. There is no forever chemicals. I know for a fact that we are the only, even water without oxygen, that we test free from forever chemicals. So it's all independent. Every single study, every single case study, all science, it's not done by us. It's all independent, third party. So we test free from forever chemicals. which is a big
Nice little
thing.
bit of branding there from Karla at the same time. Can you just show your bottle, please?
Sorry, that's all I do.
Hey, there it is. That's where all the OxyPet's gone.
I know.
Yes, exactly. It's where it's all gone. We have to look after health first.
It's funny when I go out with Betty, you know, if we go to a cafe or we go for a little like wander to the pub, and you know I'm sat there swigging her OxyPet as well. Like, oh, you're drinking dog water, and I'm like, it's fine.
It's funny you say that, because last year was all about production, and we actually made a very conscious decision. It's been years in the making since I started, that people are like, oh, plastic bottles, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And we got to 30% recycled plastic. But last year we became 100% sustainable. So our bottles are actually made from prevented ocean plastic. So we actually don't take anything. We actually just give. So we take from what's already there. We like solar power, wind power. So that's all down at the bottling plant. But yeah, we stop plastic that goes into the ocean. So if you look at prevented ocean plastic, massive company doing incredible things around the world. So we do that. And then our boxes are made from sustainable forestry. And then we just won the UK Business Award for being Eco Pet Brand of the Year. So we just that was our recent award. So
congratulations, that's fantastic. Oh, I love that you're 100% sustainable. That's just incredible. And before we let you guys go, Karla, I mean, we've got so much to talk about on the natural health front. But in the meantime, before we never let you go and bring you back for another podcast episode, can I just get you to confirm your Facebook group name? If anyone wants to join, it's a free group that they can join.
Completely free. It is No Bull, just natural health for dogs.
So that's no bull like bull poo. Rather than noble, like a noble lord or lady, it's no bull. Natural health Facebook group.
Yeah, and you know, we, like I say, we're at almost 113,000. We've got some of the best holistic vets from all around the world in the group. We've got chiropractors, physiotherapists, homeopaths, behaviorists. And I've got a team of, I think, about 12 of us now. I lose count. So all there to answer people's questions. It goes into Penton, and there's always one of us that answers the question first, and then we can tag some of our other experts to help. So yeah, and I've just launched a website as well. So if people don't want to go onto the group and put a post up, there is a website there, and that's just called the same, No Bull, just natural health for dogs. And we've got all of our blogs there, you know, transition into raw, natural flea and worm prevention, things on vaccines, bad toes, bad ears, you name it. It's there.
That's fantastic. And Liz, lovely Liz, hi Liz, has said that she could go on all night listening to you guys. And she says, oh, wow, I've been in that group for years. Great to see the face behind the group.
Oh, how lovely.
Fantastic. Right, well, we will let you guys go. Thank you so much for joining us. Penny and I are just...
Thank you, Joe, for hosting us. And thank you very much, Penny, for inviting us, telling Joe about us. So it's really appreciated. Thank you so much.
It's our pleasure, and definitely the beginning of a long relationship with OxyPet, I believe. We are definitely keen to promote more the work that you're doing and the product that you've got. It's fantastic. Just going to hold on to Penny for a minute and let you guys go so we can introduce next week's guest and get people as excited as we are for them. But if you could pop me over the code, Lindsey, I'll get that sent out on Friday with the e-newsletter. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you.
Wow.
I told you.
My mind is blown.
So simple, but
How
so
incredible. Oh, oxygen. It's just so simple. Why
and
has
the
that not
transform
occurred to me?
right. It's just too obvious for us to even think about.
Like
that we
you
just
take it for granted. Yeah.
But listen, this is the interesting thing is when they've done ice cores and done sampling of that, and the gases that get trapped in the core, also bubbles inside amber that's been fossilized. The scientists are measuring what was it like, what were the atmospheres like back all that time ago, and they're finding that it was significantly higher percentage oxygen in the air than what we have today.
Really?
And so
is that because of pollution?
Pollution is adding to the unavailability of some of the oxygen because it's too contaminated. The body's going to expel that out. It's going to reject that. I'm not a atmospheric scientist to go into the details of those things, but it's interesting to know that increased oxygen is allowing for increased life. You look at some of the sizes of the animals, the megafauna that existed back in that stage. Well, if you can sustain a really big body and live for longer as a result of increased oxygen, we just see the parallel. I don't want to draw conclusions that aren't there, but it's an interesting correlation to see.
It really is.
That the world was able to have a higher oxygen level atmosphere, and then we see differences in size and lifespan. And when scientists have replicated this inside tanks in controlled environments, they see the same thing. They see a longevity effect and they see a size effect as a result of increased oxygen. So can we now look at doing it artificially through our water? It's obviously highly natural, but we're not increasing the oxygen of the atmosphere. We're increasing it in the water. What effects will we see longevity? Well, we're about to find out, because, I mean, these guys are doing the studies to see what are the effects of doing this stuff. What are the effects on the health and the well-being? But I suspect over time as well, we're going to see longevity effects as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It just makes sense. Everything just makes so much sense with it, doesn't it? And I just want to say as well, though we've talked about brachycephalic breeds, I think all breeds would benefit, although brachycephalic obviously the most of the shorter airway. And I don't want people to think that we're anti-brachycephalic breed by any stretch. We're not anti any breed. We just want dogs to be able to breathe and perform natural, just to be healthy dogs. So whether you've got a dog that has that's got a flat face or it hasn't, it just needs to have enough nose to be able to breathe properly, as a dog should be able to, as it probably was bred originally, but just over time we've, as humans, have meddled with it so much that it's now unable to. So if you've got any questions around that side of things, we did actually have a dog expert podcast in this season, in season 4, with the Innate Health Assessment team, who have brought the Innate Health Assessment tool out. There has been some controversy around that, and in that episode they clear up all the controversy. They answer, frankly, any questions that came in. It's a really good episode. So if you want more information about the flat face breed side of things that we've been talking about, the brachycephalic breeds, then that's a really good podcast episode to speak to. But on to next week, and I've been fangirling because I am so excited about next week's. I really hope Em can join us as well next week, because it's gonna be her favourite episode. She says every episode is her favourite episode. But yes, next week we have got the most incredible guest. This lady came into my world back in 2000 and maybe 15, when I was at Tilly Farm doing a T-Touch course with Sarah Fisher. And as part of the course, Sarah introduced this lady's work to us. And wow, it has been just, an absolute, I don't know, I think a joy doesn't seem strong enough a word to meet her and talk with her for however long we were on Zoom the other week. Penny put us in touch. What, an hour and a half? I just didn't want to let her go. But it is the wonderful Caroline Ingraham. And Caroline, well, Penny, do you want to tell people about Caroline? Because you know you've been in Caroline's world for a while. It's all about the amazing self-healing and zoopharmacognosy, but you're probably best placed to explain in more detail because you've done the courses, haven't you?
So I'm blessed to call Caroline a friend, and I've studied under her, but also we've had many other conversations. I've interviewed her a number of times. We've got a great relationship, and she's just the most phenomenal, heart-centered, compassionate, understanding, in tune, intuitive, like just incredible with the animals. I've spent a lot of time around people who work with animals, and she's one of the very rare people who have such a next level gift, I think, in terms of connecting with them in a meaningful, scientific based result outcome, but heart-centered, gentle, quiet. It's just, you'll be transformed when you listen to how she speaks about it. But zoopharmacognosy, or animal self-medication, was something that I stumbled across in my undergrad years, instantly fell in love with, could find almost nothing in the literature about it. And then when I moved to the UK after graduation, had the pleasure of actually just, finding that Caroline lived up the road from me. And so I went and trained with her, and that just, really opened up my eyes to the practical side. So I looked at it from the science of what have we got from field research and what do we know from these examples. But what Caroline's done is taken all of that, sort of the ivory tower side of the science, and turned it into an applied art and science of really working cooperatively with your animal to draw out from them the wisdom that they have about how to work with the natural world, how to work with the plants, the clays, the other things that they're naturally going to source in a wild environment, and then how to offer the appropriate thing, how to recognize that that's what they want, how to layer that in appropriately. The animal's doing the heavy lifting here because they have the knowledge. They have that in their brain, born into them. And Caroline's going to talk probably more about that, but that is knowledge in there. If we could only learn to harvest that, what could we do to accelerate their rate of healing, to catch a pain or suffering or discomfort or tummy upset or anything earlier? Because we have to wait till we see a sign or symptom in their behavior or their body to tell us that, oh, maybe that's a thing. And half the time we think, oh, it's fine, be gone tomorrow. Well, likely that animal's been having that for some time before we see it. What if we were doing something proactive that allowed us to hear from them right at the start of that cascade? We all know that if you do something early, it stops it from getting worse. And also, the earlier you do it, the less time there is of actual suffering. So for those two reasons alone, it's a powerful modality in favor of animal welfare, but it also improves your bond and your connection with them, because now you're doing this experience together. We're like, what medicine do you want to interact with today? What kind of thing would be blessing you? Oh, that's interesting. You chose rock rose. I wonder what I can extrapolate from that. Or maybe you need X, Y, and Z. And so then we can be more proactive pet parents with this fantastic knowledge that they're telling us through their choices of what they need from a behavior, welfare, emotional, spirit, whatever aspect. Do you need more sleep? Do you need to have some time with a friend? Do you want to bond with me some more? Do you whatever it is? And there's just so much richness that can come out of this. So anyway, I could go on for about forever. But
me too.
Caroline to tell us all of it from her deeply understanding of transforming the theory into this fabulous practice where it becomes meaningful to everybody. And it's just what how do we get started in that? How can we introduce that to our pets? And they already know. They're waiting for us to have the illumination.
She is just the most beautiful soul as well. Like, she's one of those people that just radiates warmth and kindness, and she's just a beautiful human. But I'll just quickly share two stories of when Zoo Farm has really, really transformed a dog and a relationship with a dog for me. So I used to get my dogs a zoo farm session every Christmas for a present as minimum. And the lovely lady who lived locally called Sarah, who used to come and do these sessions. Unfortunately, she's moved actually closer to you now, Penny. But she used to come, and whenever I got a new rescue, she'd come out. And anyway, I got this lovely Rotty boy who was supposed to stay overnight and ended up staying many, many years. And Sarah came out with her zoo farm toolkit, I used to call it, like a toolbox.
Mhm.
And she started to offer him different things to see what he was drawn to. And the first time he came out, he was indicating things that were showing that he was anxious. So that was really, really good to know. And it was just an incredible experience just to watch her work with him. Anyway, the next time she came out, we'd had him longer. He was more settled. It wasn't as anxious. And he was then able to show us that he was in pain, but his anxiety had been too high for him to show us that he was in pain the first time she came out. Yeah. So that was really interesting, and we didn't know he was in pain, but for him to be able to self-select things that showed us that meant that we were able to investigate and found that he had something going on with his hind right. So that was really interesting and helped us to help Ticey. The second one, so I was called by the police and asked to go and pick a dog up that was with their officers in a neighbouring town. This dog had been found with a deceased body. It had been with its guardian that had been deceased for 3 days, lying with this dead body of its guardian. So this dog was in quite a state of shock. I took it in my van. I got home. I opened the van crate up and let the dog out, and it lay down on the pavement. And I've never seen a dog shut down like this. It was literally just frozen on the pavement outside the van. And there were people walking their dogs past it, and there was just nothing there at all. This dog was completely out, although it was upright, lying down, but head up, and eyes open. There was just nothing there at all. I've never seen anything like it. And Sarah, bless her, she was actually visiting someone in hospital, and she sort of left and came with her zoo farm toolkit and did zoo farm at the side of the road. And we were there for 6 hours. It was dark. It was gone midnight by the time that this dog came round. But as a result of the zoo farm, we were able to get the dog moving and up and into a safe place for the night. Wow. So I can't wait for Caroline to come on next week. It's going to be awesome. And very rare for Caroline to do interviews like this as well and come on podcasts. So we're super blessed that you were able to make the intro, Penny. Thank you.
The world needs to know. People need to have this option to discover that this most phenomenal modality exists. And you don't need to be a veterinarian or someone who's trained in years of, I mean, you can, the material's so vast, but Caroline has trained many people. I don't think we're going to do a training next week, but we are going to learn more about it, and that will hopefully inspire curiosity to start looking into it yourselves.
Yeah, so next week is going to be probably the only podcast where I will completely shut up and just be like, Caroline, talk, go. Oh, well, it has been a joy as always. So we will see you 5:30 p.m. next Tuesday, the 14th of April. If you want to watch live, if you're listening on playback, then just fast forward on to the next podcast episode, because it is a cracker and we haven't even recorded it yet, but I know. Have a great week, everyone, from me, Jo, and
from me. Big love to all of you.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Dog Expert Podcast, the podcast dogs would want you to listen to. If you've enjoyed this episode, do come and let us know in our free Facebook group for dog lovers everywhere, Ethical Dog Training with Canine Principles. That way we can make more content like this that you'll love. We would love for you to leave a review on here and hit subscribe so that you never miss an episode.